Hello, everybody. It's Dana Sullivan, the Stampin' Chick here, and I have a super fun, adorable memorydex card that I want to share with you guys today. I made this for a fun little swap that I'm participating in, but it's so stinking cute. I want to make one for myself too. So I thought, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity for me to be able to share with you how I'm making my memorydex card. So I thought that I would bring you along with me and show you how I make my card. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, let me grab my die cuts here, my dies. I have purchased a set of dies from KS Craft. Now, obviously, this is not Stampin' Up. Stampin' Up doesn't have anything like this, so I have purchased these from KS Craft, and you can find her on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, but it's KS Craft Lovers Store. And anyway, I was able to get this little set of memorydex dies, and in the set, it includes the memorydex frame, which has this beautiful stitched, kind of scalloped, bubbly looking die. And then it also includes a little die that lines up on the inside, and it has stitching around it as well. And then it has these two little bookmark type dies, which we're not going to use, but we are going to use these two. Now, for the sake of time and effort, I've gone ahead and done a lot of die cutting for us already. So I've already die cut the two pieces there, but I wanted to tell you what else I'm going to be using. So I'm using the Spooky Halloween stamp set. I'm actually going to be using this little guy right here, and I'm going to use the die to cut him out. And then I'm using the Fright Night stamps and dies as well. I'm going to use Eat, Drink, and Be Scary for the label. I'm using this little background stamp right here. And then I'm also going to be using several of the dies in this set. Okay, so I'm using a couple of the spider webs, of course, one of the spiders. I'm using the banner, the word eek in dies. I'll be using that. And then from the Spooky Halloween set, I used this little die for the two bats, and then also the little Frankenstein image die there. So I have those sets already used. And then I'm using Memento ink. I'm using Lemon Lime Twist. And I'm also going to be using Gorgeous Grape, because I'm going to be doing something fun with a piece of shimmer cardstock that I have. And then I'm using, for this one, I'm going to use some Stampin' Blends markers. I've got my light and dark Lemon Lime Twist, light and dark Pumpkin Pie, light and dark Highland Heather. Now, of course, I don't have Gorgeous Grape in the blends because they don't exist, so we're going to use the Highland Heather instead. Now, for my sample, I actually used Stampin' Up's watercolor pencils. So I'm eager to use the Stampin' Blends on this one just to see and be able to compare side by side what each of them look like using the different mediums. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I've got the background piece cut in Lemon Lime Twist cardstock. I have the front layer cut in basic white. And as you can see, there's a huge difference between this one and this one. So I can't wait to share that with you. I have a couple of the little spiderweb pieces cut in basic black. I've got a hot little mess over here. I have a couple of the bats cut out in basic black as well. That is that one die that had the two bats together. So I've got that, and I have the spider for the spider web. I have the banner cut out in basic white, and I'm going to add a little bit of ink to that as well. And then I've already stamped my little Frankenstein guy and cut him out. I just stamped him in Memento ink and then die cut him with the die. So he's ready to be colored. And then I have a little scrap of, this is a glimmer paper, and actually it may even be a retired paper. Let's see. It is the pastel ombre glimmer specialty paper. So it was this paper right here. It faded from one color to another. And as you can see, I have a bit of it on hand. And I thought I really wanted some purple glitter paper. And I happen to have this on hand. So this is what I'm going to use. Of course, if you don't have any of the glimmer paper, you can always just use Gorgeous Grape cardstock and then add some Wink of Stella over it to make it sparkle. Okay, now one thing that I want to do with this, and you'll be able to see from my scrap here, is that this one is quite a bit darker than this, and it's because I used a blending brush and went over this color with the darker Gorgeous Grape because I really wanted it to be that bold Gorgeous Grape pop of color. So let me do that first to give it just a minute to dry while we're working. So I'm going to take this paper and the Gorgeous Grape ink, and I've got my blending brush here. I'm just going to go around the outer edges of my ink pad and bring up some ink, and then I'm coloring right over the top of that paper, and you can already see the two different shades of purple there. We want that really nice, bold, dark purple. Okay. There we go. Now it does have a little bit of a glossy kind of coating to it. So we're going to let it dry for a second, and then we're going to add a little bit more color to that, okay? So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to bring in my little Frankenstein man, and we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of coloring with him, okay? So let me move that up there. All right, now I'm going to color them basically the same colors, but I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends markers instead of the colored pencils, all right? So first things first, I'm going to bring in my light and dark lemon lime twist. And I'm coming in and just going to add in any kind of shadowy areas. Okay, so I'm going to come across right there under his hairline, under his ear, down the side of his face. Okay, around the bottom side of his nose, just like that. And then I'm going to come in with the lighter one and I'm going to blend it out. Okay, here we go. And I'm not going to color his eye because I'm actually going to color that with the Highland Heather, just like I did with the pencils. Okay, so as you can see, we're coming right along the darker stuff and just filling it in a little bit. kind of making a circular fashion, and then we're going to fill in all the rest of this here. All right, just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in, and right here on his little lines, his face, I'm just going to add a little bit extra of the dark there just to give it a little bit of color pop. And then I'm going to come in on his ear and then blend it all out with the lighter shade. There we go. All right, now let's see here. We want to do his hands, so I'm going to do just a little there, and then bring in the lighter shade to kind of finish it up. All right, just like that. And then let me see, I need to also do his little wrists right there. There we go. Okay, now, whoops, I got the dark cap on the light one. There we go. All right, now I'm going to come in with the Highland Heather, and this is a little bit of a lighter color than what I'm wanting because I don't have Gorgeous Grape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the dark Highland Heather, and I'm going to give that a second, and then I'll come back over it again with the dark Highland Heather again, just to give it a little bit extra darkness. So everywhere that I can color just a little bit here, I'm going to go ahead and color it with the dark Highland Heather. And then I'm going to come back over it and color any kind of shading with just a little bit more of the Highland Heather, okay? And I'm going to do this little bit on his shorts or his socks right there. And I think I was meant to put a little bit of the green. There we go, right along there. All right, now I'm going to come back over any of the darker areas, and I'm going to use the bullet point on this side and just kind of add in a little bit extra of the dark on that Highland Heather. And I think by being able to add in just a little extra layer of it, it's going to give me that shading that I'm looking for, even using the same color. Okay, there we go. I think that'll be good. All right, now I want to use my pumpkin pie. Okay, and I'm going to do his little tunic here. And so what I want to do with this one, because we've got a really nice big area here, I want to color everything in with the light pumpkin pie. Okay. Come along this way. Get the bottom of his tunic just like so. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to add little bits of highlight or shadow in this case. Right there, right along the top where his head is kind of casting shadow on his shirt. I'm going to do a little on the X right there. And then I'm going to kind of come up just a little bit. There we go. And then bring the light back in and kind of fade it down. Okay, just a little. There we go. Nice little circular motion. And that's going to help us blend our color just a little bit. There we go. All right, now that we have that, I'm going to bring in some basic black. So I've got light and dark basic black. And for the light, I'm going to come right in here and get those little electrodes on the side of his neck. And I'm going to bring in the dark and just very little amount here, right along the underside of his tunic against his shorts. Just add a little bit of shadow right there down the inside of his shorts pant leg. There we go. And then grab the light and I'm going to blend it all out. Okay, there we go. Just like so. There. All right, very nice. Okay, now for the lollipop, what I did with the pencils is I kind of blended the colors in. So let me see if I can do a similar concept with the markers. Okay, I'm just gonna go a little there with the light, a little with the dark, a little with the light purple, and a little with the darker. I think we've got it. Absolutely. Okay, now I think I'm going to need to go back over that lighter to the darker purple here just a little. Yep, there we go. Okay, and then maybe the lighter to the darker orange just a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. All right, I think that he turned out pretty good in comparison to our color pencil guy. I think he looks pretty darn good. All right, now I'm going to set this, let's see, while I've got this here, let me go ahead and do another layer of that dark, gorgeous grape. There we go. And now it's taking on the color a little bit easier. That first layer kind of went down and stuck to the paper. And now this layer of color is going to be sticking a little bit better even to that layer of color. So I'm going to let that sit for a second. And I'm going to just put it off to the side. I'm going to bring in a sponge dauber and each of the two background layers here. And then I'm going to start out with lemon lime twist. And I'm going to add a bit of the color around each of the pieces. Let me just get my sponge dauber inked up really good here. And now, even though I'm doing lemon lime twist base, and even though you can see that I'm going to be doing a black sponging around the edges, it's still really important to do this green sponging because it's adding layers of color and texture to the outside edges of the card, okay? So we really do still want to have this darker layer of the lemon lime twist. And you may think, well, why do you need that if it's already lemon lime twist? Well, it just really does make a difference, which you can already see. Okay, this here versus the side that's not done. And this will lighten up just a little bit as it dries. So it won't be quite as bold, but it will still give a little bit of that extra depth of color that we're looking for. And it's just going to contribute to the layers of depth and color that we're looking for on the edges of this card as we're working our way around. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go all the way around my card here. And as you can see, I'm kind of bringing the color in a nice little bit. And that's because I want a little bit of this green to show even after I put the black around just the edges, okay? So I am adding a bit more of the lemon lolly, not lemon lolly, oh my gosh, lemon lime twist around the edges here. And then as it dries, you'll see that it's going to lighten up quite a bit, but it's still going to have a nice little hint of color. Okay, and then while we've got that one there, I'm going to take this layer and without re-inking my sponge dauber, I'm going to very lightly just kind of drag color from the outer edges towards the middle. Okay, and what I'm wanting to do is add a bit of extra to the edges but make the insides lighter. Okay, so I'm wanting to add color to the edges to give me a nice like smoky outer edge, but still adding a light tone of the lemon lime twist across the whole card because I want some of my white to show through, but I don't want it to be totally overpowered by the lemon lime twist, okay? So I'm just very gently dragging my sponge dauber across the paper and bringing that color across the whole thing. There, the color is coming in goes to the white that it started out, okay? So we're just going to keep going across like that and adding our color all the way across, and that's going to give us a really nice subtle colored background, okay? And you can see it here on this one where it's not totally white, but there is a little touch and sneaks of white poking through, and that's exactly what we wanted here, okay? Now that we have that, I'm going to set that sponge dauber aside and I'm going to bring in my Memento ink. Let me just get my markers out of the way a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to bring in the Memento ink and another sponge dauber. And this time, I'm just going to go right around the edges of the papers. I'm not going to bring the color in too far. I'm just going around the edges just as I would any other kind of, inking around the edges sort of thing. Okay. And you can see there how that's working. It's giving me a nice little smoky edge. And I've still got that little layer of lemon lime twist showing through as well. Okay, so that's what's helping give us that extra layer of dimension of color right around the edges. And we really like that. That's giving us a really cool dimension. All right, now I'm just going to follow this all the way around all of those little bubbles. To me, this kind of looks like a cauldron bubble. So I thought it was absolutely perfect for Halloween. And that's why I chose this one. You may have been wondering, like, what was she thinking? Well, it's because I really thought that it looked a lot like cauldron bubbles. And I thought that would be a perfect shape for my fabulous little Halloween card here. Okay, here we go. So again, we're just inking around the edges. Notice that I'm still leaving plenty of the lemon lime twist to show through. Just want a nice little smoky edge all the way around. Okay, adding a little bit of ink as we go. And then I'm going to very carefully come in around the edges of my little, you know, the memorydex part. I don't know what you'd call those, but the little tabs there. And the little notched areas, and we're just going to very carefully work our way around them so that they get a little bit of color too, and then that's what we're left with. Okay, so really nice spooktacular base starting out. Okay, and then we're going to do the exact same thing with this layer, because if you look at it like this, it's really clean and stark and bleh. We need to add just a little bit of that nice kind of spooky vibe. So we're going to just go all the way around. Okay. Just like that. All right. Adding a little bit of ink all the way around. And you'll notice now that this is going to really just help this piece fully stand out from the background. So take a look at that. Even if I were to lay it flat up against the card, it's going to really give it a good pop and let it have its own space on the card. However, we're not going to put it directly on the card because we like dimension. So instead, we're going to put some dimensionals on the back side of this piece. Okay. We like to put dimension on things wherever we can. All right, here we go. And there. All right. Yes, I'm using a lot of dimensionals because this is a pretty good size piece and I just don't want any of it to be sagging, right? And it's going to go through the mail and we just want to be careful with it. So we're going to do the best we can here, trying to keep it from sagging. All right. Now I'm going to line this up evenly right in the middle of the card. And I love that these dies came with both of the card pieces that are already pre-measured to the right size, so you know that they work together nicely. All right, now this guy is going to go right about there, and I'm just going to let him sit for just a minute. I'm going to do a little bit more die cutting and just a tiny bit more stamping too. All right, so we have our little sentiment banner here, and we have this piece that says eat, drink, and be scary. And I'm going to actually use pumpkin pie ink for this one. And let me see if I can bring it down just a little closer to me so that I can get over the top of it without getting my head in the way. We shall see. All right, and I'm going to line it up so that it's even. Hopefully we get it in the center here. All right, nice even press, and we've got it. That looks nice. Okay. Now, while I'm doing the last little bit of stamping, I almost forgot actually, and I should have done this before I put this piece on dimensionals, but it's going to be just fine because this is a little background stamp. So it's actually not going to matter too much for us at all. But we're going to just stamp a little bit of this. And you can see there the little black speckles. I love this stamp because it's not really any particular shape, actually. It's just a really neat little variety of kind of scratches, and it works perfectly for a nice little background on this card. All right, now then, we've got that done. And I'm going to grab that black sponge dauber and a little bit of ink there, and I'm going to ink up the edges of this banner because it definitely looks just a little bit too stark of white. So we want to do all of the edges here. And there's something else that I'm going to do with this. As I'm coming along with this particular type of banner, it has this little die cut section that's kind of like a little slit you can see right there. I'm actually going to bend the tail back just a little, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up those edges as well, because as you can see, it really makes the difference in the banner and really helps it look the way it's meant to look. And so if I were to ink up these edges, and let me just show you what I mean. If I were to ink up the edges and not ink up that little die cut line there, you can see already the difference between this one here and this one here. It really makes it look more dimensional, doesn't it? So it's not a problem to just take this and bend it back just a little bit and really ink up that little line there. That way you get that nice look to it. All right, now let me close that up before I get it all over me. And then we can go ahead and start assembling some of this now. I'm going to take my spider webs here and a little bit of multipurpose liquid glue. And what I'm going to do is very, very carefully, barely let any of the glue come out of the tip. And I'm going to just kind of brush it along the bottom 2/3 or so of the web. Okay, somewhere in there. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Okay, just about the bottom 2/3. We're not going to worry too much about anything higher than that. All right. Okay, you can see there I've got just a little bit of glue. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and line them up right about there. And that looks pretty good. Now I want to kind of be aware of how much is sticking out here. So I got to be very careful there. I don't want too much of that sticking out. Let me just drag it a little bit there. Okay. There we go. That'll do. All right. And then I'm going to use some multipurpose liquid glue and put my little Franken dude on. Okay, there we go. Just a little. He is really cute. I actually really like him a lot. Okay. Like so. There we go. Okay, now I want to take my Eat, Drink, and Be Scary, and I'm going to add some dimensionals right there, and right there. Okay. And he's gonna go right about like that. Okay, just like that. Okay, now I really like the black dimensionals that we have for Stampin' Up! Because you get the small ones and the big ones in the same package, and I absolutely love that. But I will actually be using the small ones here, and I'm just going to put one right in the middle of each of my bats. Okay. And because it's black, I don't have to worry about if it's sticking out just a little bit or not. It's not going to matter. And then I'm going to take this little partial one right here on the end and put it on my spider, because the spider is small enough that I can't get one to really fit in the middle of it without really sticking out. All right, so there's that. Okay. Now I'm going to take one of my bats and I'm just bending his wings up a little bit right next to his body. Okay, just give him a little bit of dimension here. And then I'm going to put him right here. All right, there's one. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to fold his wings right up next to his body. Okay, give him that little bit of dimension there. And I'm going to put this guy right up here. There we go. All right, now my spider, I kind of want to fold his feet down just a little bit, so it's going to give him a little texture and make it look like he's walking, but he will go right here in the corner. Okay, so I'm going to put him on right there. All right. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to take that piece of purple paper that we colored, and we're going to die cut the word eek out of it. Okay, so we're going to run this through, and I'm just going to do that off screen right here, okay? Alrighty. Here we go. And you can see this cuts out beautifully. I absolutely love it. And then I'm going to take this piece and with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue, just add a little bit to the back sides here. There we go. And then I'm going to put them kind of under the edge of my spider, but right there. There we go. We got an eek. I love it. All right. Now, the last thing I need to do, I think, is I want to add just a little bit of Wink of Stella right here to his little lollipop. Just like so. There we go. All right, guys. And there you have it. What a super stinking cute little memorydex card. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. It was so much fun making them for you. And I can't wait to send one of these off to my friend and put the other one in my own little memorydex box. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed the tutorial, and next time you're playing with your Stampin' Up! Stamps and dies, be thinking about different things that you can make with them. You don't have to always just make cards or scrapbook pages. You can make fun little cards like these. You can make tags, you can make treat holders, and all kinds of other fun stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye for now.